Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of A Better You. I'm your host, Fernanda Ramirez, and welcome back to the podcast. Here we talk about self-help, self-development, becoming the best version of ourselves, and overall, I am here for you for your healing journey, or if you just want something to listen to while you're on your hot girl walk, maybe you're journaling, maybe you're cooking, maybe you're getting ready for bed, whatever it is, I'm here for you, and I'm ready to yap. If you don't know who I am, and this is your first time hearing my voice, I hope you stick around, and I hope you enjoy this podcast. Today, we are actually talking about change. Now, I've been wanting to make this episode for such a long time because recently I had a very big change, which was moving into my new apartment. And I've had obviously a few changes in my lifetime, but the ones that I felt have really shaped me the most into the person that I am now have been every time I have moved. And so when I moved this most recent time into my new apartment, I really thought that I had it under control. I really thought that I know how to do this change thing. Change doesn't affect me. And when I moved, as much as I tried to fight it, it ended up still impacting me. My point of that is to say that I wanted to make this episode to talk about change, to talk about how to anticipate it, the process of going through it, and what you can do after. Because I know that we are all going through change, no matter who you are or what season of life you're in or what you're doing. Everyone is facing change every day. And as they say, the only constant in life is change. So it's better to figure out how we can go through with it smoothly and how we can recover from it, because it does put a lot of stress on ourselves, our mental health, our body. And again, even if you don't think that it's putting stress on you emotionally, it probably is physically, and it can manifest in other ways. Whether you are going through change in relationships, in friendships, in family dynamics, moving, in jobs, in college, in sports, there's just so many ways that change can creep into your life. And I just want to say that if you are going through change right now, you are not alone. There are so many people going through the exact same thing as you. And in fact, if you are watching this on the YouTube channel, leave a comment down below and let me know what your biggest tip is for going through change smoothly and being able to kind of bounce back, or at least not let the change kind of rock your boat. If you're listening to this on Spotify, I think you can also swipe up and leave a little comment down below. I actually always read them, so I will be reading them. But anyways, before we get into the episode, if you haven't already given this podcast a thumbs up, have followed the Instagram at abetteryou.byfernanda, make sure you do that, because I will be waiting for you on the other side over here. And make sure you recommend this podcast to a friend. You know, someone else might need it and they might not know about it. So tell them to give this podcast a listen, and I will be here. Before we get started on today's episode, let's do a little bit of a life recap, a little bit of a, little chat, even though I've already done a whole intro. But I'm currently filming this episode at night. It's currently like 9 p.m. And you might be asking, Fernanda, why would you be doing a night podcast? We know you get tired at night. And you know what? All I can say is you're right. I was so scatterbrained today that I just couldn't sit down and just film this episode. You know what? My day started on a rough patch. It all started in the morning when I decided to go to my personal training session, which if I haven't touched on that yet, I want to tell you guys, I started personal training at House Concept and I've absolutely been loving it. It is definitely a way to reach your fitness goals in a much faster way. And obviously, I just feel like the dynamic of being with one person only kind of puts the pressure on you. So you got to work a little bit harder. You got to, get into it. It's a little bit intimidating, but it's definitely rewarding. Anyways, I've only been to around 4 sessions, but this morning I had a personal training session. So you know what? I woke up bright and early. I got ready. I get there. We start working out, and you guys, I did a sin. I forgot to eat before going to personal training, and that is unlike me. If you know me in real life, if you know me at all, you know I'm a big foodie. I love to eat, and especially I make sure to eat before big, heavy workouts, because I've had the feeling in the past where I feel like I'm gonna faint because I'm not properly energized. And anyways, I completely forgot to eat anything. I walked down the door. I guess I just wasn't hungry, and I just didn't eat anything. But we start working out. I'm like, God, this is harder than usual. And my trainer asks me, did you have breakfast this morning? And I was like, oh no, I don't think I did. I forgot to have breakfast. And he was like, damn, yeah, that's not good, whatever. Anyways, I'm like continuing to try to work out. And then it's like, all I could think of was like, wait, you're right, I haven't eaten. I'm like kind of hungry now that you say it. Actually, now that you say it, I'm a little bit lightheaded. Actually, now that you say it, next thing you know, I'm like borderline about to faint. And I'm literally telling him like, no, I need to like step out for a minute because I am seeing black and white. And I think I am working out too hard for the fact that I haven't eaten anything this morning. Anyways, he was very kind and we switched out that tough, intense workout for something a little bit easier. And I had a little bit of a protein bar while I was working out. And then I was a lot better by the end of it. But at the end of that training session, you know, a lesson was learned. Eat before you do a heavy workout because it is no fun trying to work out when you genuinely have no energy, and it's just humbling. I was very much ashamed. I was like, this is so sad. I can't even work out and I can't even get my money's worth or my just like time's worth out of this workout because I am so fatigued right now. I'm about to faint. Anyways, that was my morning. I came home and I was just like, I literally need to nap. Like I'm not chill right now. And all day I've just been kind of, you know, I don't even know what I've been doing. Let me tell you guys. I've been online shopping. That sounds insane because it's like, girl, please, you don't need more clothes. But I'm going on a big Euro trip at the end of the month. I'm going to London, Paris, and Portugal. And it's going to be Paris Fashion Week. You know, I just needed a little bit of a wardrobe refresh. Also, it's my birthday coming up. I don't know. I just feel like there was a lot of things that I kind of wanted a little refresh for. And, you know, when I buy new clothes, that means I got to start getting rid of some stuff. So it's definitely something I'm going to do in the upcoming weeks, as well as just, I kind of want to do a little bit of a rebrand. My birthday's coming up and I feel like everyone goes through this, but when it's their birthday, they kind of start to go into a little bit of a reflection mode and they start thinking like, okay, what did I do this year? What do I want for the next year? Maybe I should do a little glow up. Maybe I should do a closet clean out. Like, you know, you start just looking more within. So that's definitely where I'm at right now. And I've kind of been doing a little bit of a rebrand as well as figuring out what needs to go. That is enough about me. That is enough ramble. Let's get into today's topic. So first, I just want to say any life change that you have is extremely stressful. Whether this is a social change, such as the loneliness of moving to an unfamiliar city, or even just moving out of your childhood home or moving to a different neighborhood. This could be going away to college, which I feel like maybe a lot of people have just recently experienced since the start of the school year just occurred. This could be having a little bit of a distancing from a lifelong friend or just having any friend drama that is never good. It can be something to do with family, whether that be a death of a loved one or some family conflict that was not there before. This could be a financial change, such as buying something huge, like buying a house or buying a big purchase, or maybe, I don't know, you just bought a car and now you just don't have your money saved up. Or it could even be a health change, such as you or someone else going through some sort of health problem that was not there before, or even an injury or whatever it may be. There's genuinely so many changes that people can go through, and every time it is just so stressful. So I feel like one of the most important things that I just want to preface before going into this is that you need to have so much self-compassion, because I feel like sometimes we underestimate how big of a deal things are, or I guess we overestimate our maybe like capability to cope, and we're just constantly telling ourselves we're fine without giving ourselves the space to mourn what was or what isn't anymore, or giving us the space to just kind of realize what isn't there anymore. I think it also depends on the person. I think some people are more sensitive than others and can react to change so quickly and like emotionally and like really feel it within their whole body. And I think that there's other people that are a little bit more avoidant that just kind of look away and don't really give themselves the proper space to acknowledge what just happened, or don't give themselves just the compassion that they deserve. And I feel like myself included, I can be pretty avoidant sometimes, and I don't realize how much something is going to affect me when it happens. For example, in my life, when I moved out of my childhood home, I was thinking constantly into the future. You know, I was thinking about my new apartment, how this is going to help my content, how I'm so excited for this freedom, how I'm so excited to buy my furniture. Like, I was very forward thinking that when I left and I was in my new apartment, I realized I never really like mourned the fact that I wasn't going to be living at home anymore. I was not going to be around my parents. I probably will never be with my parents again unless, you know, we all live in a house together. I didn't really like properly say goodbye to my bedroom. Like, you know, and months later, I feel like I felt that change. And so this is kind of, I guess, your heads up now that if you are going through a change, to really let yourself feel and to acknowledge what is and what won't be, because it might creep up on you later if you don't acknowledge those feelings now and fully feel them. And that is okay. Like I said, this happened to me again when I moved homes recently, and I really did think I was going to be fine after, moving once before. But once I did move, not that I was regretful at all, because I actually feel more at home in this apartment, I think, but I didn't realize how much work it was going to take to make this new house my home, if that makes sense. Like, I just thought I was going to be able to move. It was going to be the same. It was going to be perfect. I was going to go right back to easy living, sailing by. And then I moved and I'm like, wait, why is moving so much effort? Why is packing so much effort? Now I need new furniture. Now I need to unpack. Like, there's so much more to the change that I didn't realize, that I feel like if you are going through a change that you are initiating, it doesn't even need to be a bad thing, but like, just acknowledge that it's not going to be the same and it's not going to be as easy as it was. So as I said at the beginning of this episode, I want to talk about what you can do before the change if you know that change is coming. And then we're going to talk about while the transition is happening. And then we're going to talk about post-transition when we're in more of a reflective state. So first of all, before the change happens, like I said earlier, number one, I think, is to acknowledge your feelings. Anything you're feeling is valid. I think it's really normal to feel a wide array of emotions. Like I said, before I moved, I was feeling very excited. And then I would have dips of feeling sadness and feeling kind of anxiety. And then I would have feelings of proudness and just like, gratefulness that I was able to make such a change. And then I would also feel guilt leaving my family and kind of like, uncertainty, doing something that I've never done before, doing something that none of my friends have done before. You just have to understand that if you are having a wide array of emotions, it's completely normal and multiple things can exist at the same time. And I just want to touch on that for a second, that like a concept I really like is the idea of human beings being multifaceted, which means that you can have multiple facets of you that can all coexist at the same time. It doesn't even have to be in emotions wise, but it could be like aesthetically, it could be a mentality, it could be personality traits. Like, one person can experience both happiness and both sadness. A person can be funny yet kind of more serious, or a person can love, in my case, like light pastel colors, super girly vibe, while also simultaneously loving a darker, more mysterious vibe. So it's like humans have all different sorts of faces to them, and just because one is different than the other doesn't mean that they can't all coexist and that they shouldn't coexist. I think that's the beauty in being a human, and there's so many different sides to you, and the same goes for your emotions. So when you are having these changes coming up and you may be feeling a bunch of different feelings, and then one moment you're shameful and sad and angry, and then the next moment you're excited, you're happy, you're hopeful, I think that is completely valid, and one doesn't take away from the other. In fact, that just makes you human. Don't feel any sort of judgment towards your emotions and just let them flow. As they say in like meditation, you're just the observer of the emotions that you're feeling or the thoughts that you are having, but your thoughts don't define you, and they're just thoughts floating by. Another thing that you can do before the change happens is journal or talk it out, or even going to therapy. Before I moved, I really made the effort to kind of do some reflective journaling and just kind of, like I said earlier, mourn on what was and just kind of write down all my feelings. I also think it's really nice to be able to look back on. And, now that I'm older and I look at those journal entries, you see it with a lot more love, and you're like, oh, little did she know what was in store for her. Little did she know what was gonna come out of this, So I think if you are journaling to just let out your emotions, that is like not only such a good thing, but such a time capsule to have for your future self when you're looking back on these moments. If you are not a journaling fan, then maybe talking it out or talking with a therapist can be really helpful, because they can also help give you tips on how to anticipate this change, and just give you some reassurance and some guidance in times of uncertainty. I'm going to give you guys some journal questions before the change occurs if you know that it's happening. What specific change is coming, and how do I feel about it? What are my biggest fears or concerns about this change? What excites me about this upcoming change? How can I mentally prepare myself for this change? What emotional support or self-care practices will I need during this transition? What do I hope to achieve or gain from this change? How can this change align with my long-term goals or values? What past experiences have taught me that I can handle change even when it's difficult? What are the best case and worst case scenarios for this change? What can I do to increase the likelihood of the best possible outcome? What sources, such as books, podcasts, or mentors, can help me navigate this transition? How can I communicate my needs to those around me? Okay, those are all the journal question prompts that I'm going to give you guys right now. I feel like these are all really good questions for you to prepare yourself emotionally, mentally, to clarify your intentions and your goals, and maybe just to reflect on how you can go through this transition the most peacefully and with the least amount of stress as possible, as well as just exploring the potential outcomes. And again, I kind of said that in the questions, but as much as change can be scary and uncertain, there's also beauty in embracing the uncertainty and realizing that as much as, things can go south, they could go completely north, I guess. They can go the complete other way and be something that you've never expected. A quote that I saw today that is not new whatsoever, but it just kind of reminded me and just was brought up into my head, was that when one door closes, another one opens. And I feel like it's just something to remind yourself when you are going through change, because even if you're not sad about it, like I said, when I moved, it was exciting thinking about the possibilities that would come even if I was shutting down one door. And I feel like that's just something that you can tell yourself to hopefully make the situation better. Also, since we are talking about the before, I feel like it's important to remind yourself about the resilience you have and of the strength that you have. You are stronger than you think, and if you've been able to live up to this point in time, think about all the hard things that you've had to go through and that you've been able to overcome. Every time you've had to face something difficult or hard, you have just gathered a new tool for your toolbox. And change and transitions in life are going to occur until, your very old age. It'll just keep happening. So the sooner that you're able to use those tools in your toolbox to kind of face the next upcoming challenges, the sooner you can just go through life, I feel like, with a little bit more acceptance and flow. You don't want to resist the change too much since we know that it is inevitable. Another thing that I think can be helpful before the change happens is visualizing what the future is going to look like. When the change is a good change, there's obviously so many good things to look forward to, and there's so many possibilities that can come. And I feel like you can even make a Pinterest board or make a vision board for this new era or this new time in your life and kind of get yourself excited for what's to come, even if you are a little bit nervous, but kind of setting that intention and setting those ideas for how you want something to play out. For example, if you're moving to a college and you made a college vision board or a Pinterest board, there's so many things that you can pin to be excited about, to look forward to. Maybe it's your dorm room, maybe it's studying, maybe it's fall in a new school, maybe it's the new friends. And instead of, thinking back to maybe your hometown and leaving everyone behind, you can kind of visualize the future and prepare yourself that way and instead be excited. If the change is actually a negative one and you know that it's coming, as tough as it can be, I'm sure that there is one way or another that you can look at it in a positive light and flip your perspective to one that is more positive and see the light at the end of the tunnel, or see a way that you can make the situation not be so bad. Again, this is very depending on what situation you're going through, but I just feel like if you can't find the light in the situation, even talking to a friend or talking to a trusted person, I'm sure they will be able to help you find the positive in that situation. And then you can kind of envision what your future is going to look like with that new change, or what you can do with this change to, impact the world or impact yourself or impact the people around you. You can also visualize the future, and if you think that you won't necessarily be at a good place in a while, maybe thinking about some ways that you can remain positive can be helpful. And then the last thing that I feel like is the most important, which we've kind of encapsulated through this whole talk, but it's before the change happens, create an action plan and think about how this is all going to follow through, what you're going to do to set yourself up for success, and maybe how you can even break up this big cloud over your head into smaller, easier, manageable thoughts, so you don't feel so overwhelmed by what's going to happen. Remind yourself that any change is an opportunity for growth, and there is so much to be seen that you don't already know of. In fact, I actually kind of loved, again, that the concept that like your best friends, you might have not met yet. Your loved one, you might have not met yet. Your happiest days, the days where you are laughing on the ground, you heard the funniest thing, it hasn't happened yet. And having that in mind, I feel like gives me some peace of mind, thinking that like there are only good things on the horizon and there is so much to be hopeful for that you don't even know is going to happen yet. So keep an open mind, keep a positive perspective if you can, and also learn the art of detachment. I feel like the art might be a little bit too much in there, but I might have an episode on detachment. If not, there's so many podcasts and YouTube videos and books and whatever on detachment. And I feel like this is a skill that's really important to have because life is ever changing, and the sooner that you are able to recognize that your life is like chapters and seasons and you have characters in your story, I feel like the sooner you can embrace these changes with more ease. For example, since I've been traveling a lot in the past 4 years, I used to hate the idea of making friends while I was traveling and then having to leave and not being able to remain friends with them, or just having that change in friendship. That was not something that I was used to since growing up my whole life. I had the same friends. Even now, when my friends are having busier schedules or they're in school or they're working or they're going to be moving someday, it's like, if I hold them down like weights and I have this idea that they're going to be by my side forever, I'm only setting myself up for disaster, sadness, and disappointment, knowing that I can't keep them to myself forever. And I think understanding that some things are out of your control and that's the way that life works. People come and go and they teach you the lessons that you need to learn, and they unlock something in yourself that you didn't know of, at least for that situation, I think is really helpful. The same way that if, I'm in this new apartment right now, I don't want to hold too much attachment to it. Obviously, I want it to be homey and I want it to be mine, but still being able to have detachment from it and know that this is external from me and this doesn't make my happiness and this doesn't make who I am. And so when I move homes, I don't need to be distraught by the fact that I won't have this apartment anymore, but I could be excited for the possibilities to come, and that's all I can do. Some tips on detachment is recognizing impermanence. If you don't know what this means, it is basically the concept that everything in life is temporary, including emotions, situations, and people. And that's actually a very relieving thing to think about, because the same way that good things can go away, and that's so daunting to think about, when you have bad times, bad moments, bad phases, sad times, whatever, those things are not permanent either, and they will be gone just as quick as they came. Being detached involves being present in the moment and realizing that it's okay to be flexible and not everything needs to be planned down to the moment. We are trying to be better at letting go. Remember that it is a skill, and it is a very important skill, to be able to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And as hard as that may sound, it does come easier the sooner that you do it, or the more that you do it. And I definitely feel like I have raised my tolerance for uncomfortability through my lifetime. And as uncomfortable as it is, genuinely, as that whole statement is literally about that, it's just a part of life, and there's really nothing you can do about it. That's the truth. It's the sad truth. An idea that I found online here that I really like as well is to reframe the situation, and instead of thinking to yourself, why is this happening to me? Trying to think about, what is this teaching me? That can be such a simple and effective mindset switch that can ease you into going through change. If you are cutting off a friend or cutting someone toxic out of your life, remind yourself the reasons for why you are doing that, and reminding yourself, again, the benefits of how life is going to be when you're out of that situation. If this is you leaving a job or a career, thinking about all of the opportunities that are out there and how the world is actually your oyster. And again, like I said earlier, when one door closes, another one opens, and how many doors are going to open to you now that you are open to receiving and you have that receiving open energy. Maybe you are switching schools and this season of life is teaching you how to be more open-minded and to be more easygoing and more flexible. Maybe you're in a phase of life where you're going to be meeting so many new people, and being excited about that rather than worried, I feel like will make all the difference, and even in the connections that you make. When I was moving apartments, that was something that really made me feel more confident in my decision. I was really excited for the change in environment, the change in energy, and I thought to myself, like, as much as these apartments are very different vibes, they're going to produce very different outcomes of myself. And I'm excited to see what this new apartment brings out of me, what new energy comes out of me. And just a, side note, a little personal story here. I'm just going to talk about the change in myself. In my last apartment, I was in the middle of the city and it was very crowded. There was a lot of people around. I could feel like my skin was almost getting bad from maybe the pollution, like the cars and stuff. And when I moved to this new apartment, it's overviewing water. It's a little bit on like the edge of the city. It's a little bit out of the city actually. And I was a little bit worried thinking like, am I making the wrong decision here? But now that I've made this change, I've realized already that this has unlocked a new version of me. And the last version of me in that apartment was me when I was 20 and 21. And I was really like into clubbing and partying and going out, and being in that bustle of energy and commotion made me want to keep doing that. Whereas now that I'm in this new apartment and I've been just the last few months of being 22 and then I'm going to be 23, it's a completely new energy of one that is more calm, one that is more intuitive and just like in tune with the earth, I feel like, which sounds kind of crazy, but like I see the full moon every single month. I don't hear as much commotion. I don't hear as much noise, that it doesn't really give me FOMO. Like I don't really even want to go out. I feel a lot more peaceful here. I feel a lot more focused on my health. And that is a side of myself that I wouldn't have known if I had stayed in that other apartment. So I feel like that just goes to show that two different vibes, yes, they will produce two different versions of yourself, but you might actually like the newer version of yourself more than the one in the past. And even if you don't like it more, again, recognizing that things are eras. And as cringy as that sounds, sometimes framing time periods into eras is like a way for myself to detach, like thinking that was my apartment for my early 20s era, like moving into the city, and this is more of a era of me evolving and becoming my best version of myself, my best friend. Even just like, this is another side note, but I changed my team. I hired more people, I took on more work, and that is also change. I feel like I used to have less responsibility and I used to be able to do whatever I wanted. I don't even know the day of the week. And now that I'm trying to like evolve and grow and I have more of a schedule, though that is anxiety inducing because I don't have that same freedom, it is nice to recognize that yes, I'm going into this new chapter, one that is probably a lot more responsibility based, but that is just the evolution of me. And I'm actually becoming closer to the person that I envision myself being in 10 years from now, in 5 years from now. And like, these are all building blocks and the foundation that I'm trying to set for that ideal version of myself in the future. So not to be angry or not to be upset or not to be, mourning that past version of me, because this version of me is new and it's exciting to learn more about yourself and explore yourself in new situations. So like I said, if you are entering a new relationship, if you are entering a new school, you are making new friends, know that you're just going to learn more about yourself, and that is something to be excited about, and that is something that will give you so many new experiences. And when you're old and you're 80 or you're 90, whatever, and you're looking back on your life, you're going to be so grateful that you had so many changes going on in your life and so many eras, so many phases, so many lessons learned, and you're just going to be filled with wisdom. I also feel like that's why it is important to journal while these changes are going on, because you're able to write down what you learn, and that is the wisdom there. I also saw a quote online that said, the only thing scarier than change is staying the same, and that really stuck with me as well, because here's another personal story. I feel like a while ago on my YouTube channel, I was so used to creating one type of content, and I decided one day to like kind of change and go out of my comfort zone. And it brought me so many new viewers. It brought me such a new audience. It made me experiment with my creativity. And there were some people saying like, oh, I miss your old stuff. I miss your old videos. I miss your old whatever. But the truth is, at the time when I was making that old content, people were saying this is getting repetitive. So it's like, there's always going to be parts of yourself, or maybe other people kind of reminding you like they miss that past version of you, or maybe you are thinking to yourself, I miss that past version of me. But reminding yourself that like staying the same wouldn't have been ideal either. And it's a good thing to experience change and evolution, because that's how you know that you're growing. And the whole reason we are on earth is to grow and evolve. And you know what they say? Actually, you might not align with this, but if you believe in spirituality or whatever, They say that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And whether you're not spiritual, maybe you're religious, whatever, you could just say we are having a human experience. That is something that we can't deny. And so I feel like the best way that we can live this human experience is by experiencing the broad range of emotions, situations, people, connections that we can have. I feel like that's how you have a fulfilled life with a lot of memories and a lot of things to look back on. Now, after the change happens, there was some tussle, there was some anxiety, there was some turbulence. What do we do next? You're just like, I just did this big change. What now? The very first thing is to maintain a routine. When I moved homes, I was lost in the sauce. That's a crazy statement, but literally, I was like, what am I doing? I feel like I'm not even myself because my surroundings don't reflect who I thought I was. You know what I mean? And again, another side note, but it's crazy how the way that you decorate your space can really make you feel like you. And when that is stripped away and you don't have an outward reflection of who you feel like you are inside, it's kind of like, where do I even go from here? I feel like a blank slate. And so the thing that I recommend doing, and the thing that I feel like everyone recommends doing, is just sticking to a routine, sticking to the things that you like. Maybe it's getting the same coffee, having the same breakfast. Maybe it's having a workout routine that you love. Maybe watching a comfort movie. Just reminding yourself of the things that make you feel like you and the things that you used to do, so that you can kind of feel a sense of stability and a sense of comfort. You can create a consistent daily routine while this change is occurring, and you can also continue to do some self-care practices. I know when I moved, having a bath, doing a face mask, cooking for myself, those were all things that really made me feel soothed. Even seeing friends, I feel like was so helpful for me because I could talk to them and I could kind of chat about things and kind of pour into my cup. You could open up the Notes app and kind of make a list of the things that make you feel good, or what are self-care habits that you enjoy that always make you feel like you get a little bit of your sparkle back. And slowly doing those things, I think will 100% guarantee to make you feel at least a little bit better. And of course, regardless of what the change is, I think that reminding yourself that time will heal all wounds and time will just mend things, and eventually you'll go back to feeling normal. But during that period, to do the things that are going to make you feel good. You can focus on the things that you can control, and also setting small goals and just making daily to-do lists, I feel like will make you feel more productive, more on track. Maybe it can give you a little bit of purpose when you're feeling lost. And also just remembering to embrace that flexibility and know that this is just temporary. And I feel like there's a lot of people, especially type A people, that like things to go a certain way, and they feel uneasy when things are a little rocky or are a little bit, flexible. But it's just temporary. It's going to go back to normal soon, and it's just a part of the process. I know when I moved, oh my God, I had so many boxes everywhere, and it was not relaxing at all to step out and have all my stuff in boxes. But I just had to remind myself, this is just a part of the moving process. It takes time, and eventually things will all be in their place. And I will actually look back on this time and say, throwback to when I had boxes everywhere. Not necessarily that I'm trying to go back there, but what a time. If maybe you got out of a friend group or friendships, you parted ways, being flexible and open at this time and being open-minded to meeting new people, I think is something that can be really helpful. And again, just focusing on the good. And in this case scenario, ways that you can focus on what you control would be going out of your way to talk to new people, putting yourself in situations where you are going to meet new people. And I guess some last little reminders is to focus in the moment, be present, focus on each day as they come, and that's all you can really do. All you have is the current moment. What's past has passed. What's happened has happened. We don't know where the future is going to go, but what we can't control is today. And, it's just a part of the life journey to not have it figured out. No one has it figured out. And in fact, I also want to point that out, that I feel like it's very common for people to say in their 20s, no one has it figured out. And it's just a good reminder to have. I feel like I definitely don't have it figured out. My friends don't have it figured out. I'm sure even my parents don't have it fully figured out. And that's just life. Life is just realizing no one has it figured out and everyone's just trying their best. And that's why we need to be compassionate to everyone, because we don't know what other people are going through. And I guess that's also just a reminder to be kinder to everyone that you see, because you don't know what they're going through. And a lot of the times when people are acting up or they're acting out, you don't know what they're battling inside or what changes they're going through or what they are not able to process yet. And I guess the last thing I want to say is that after, this change has happened, you've anticipated it, the change has happened, you're doing your best to work through it, you're on the other side. You're like, I'm almost feeling better. I'm feeling stable. I'm feeling good. I'm glad this happened. You start to see the positive in the situations. Then I think it's a very helpful tool to celebrate your small wins and to celebrate how far you've come. Celebrate this newfound version of yourself, the new lessons that you have learned. If it was a bad situation that you got out of, congratulate yourself on getting yourself out of that, even if it was difficult and hard. And I feel like the last message I can just leave off on this episode is that change isn't easy. No one likes it. It is not fun, but it is what makes life life. And I believe in you. If you are going through something right now that is going to be a big change in your life, or was just a big change in your life, just know that there's people that you can reach out to. Everyone's going through the same thing, and you will get past this. This too will pass, and you're going to come out of it just a more evolved version of yourself. Either so many good things come out of the situation, or you just end up learning lessons. And there really isn't a con when you think about it like that, or when you see it like that. So anyways, I'm going to leave it off there. I hope that you are having a blessed day whenever you're listening to this episode. And if you are going through a little bit of a traumatic change right now, a little transitional change, life change, let me know. DM me. My DMs are always open. Sometimes it's hard for me to reply to everyone because I do get a lot of DMs. But if you just want to vent, send me a text. Sometimes it's good to let it out, and it's healthy to let it out. If you are going through a change also and you feel like you can't talk to anyone about it, know that you can, first of all, and also don't hold it in. It's not healthy to have such heavy feelings internally, and the sooner that you can find a way to express those emotions, the sooner you'll be able to move past them. So definitely find a way to express your feelings. Do not suppress them. Feel them and embrace them. And how lucky are you to wake up another day and be able to do more with your day, more than you did yesterday, Anyways, I love you guys. I am always here for you. And that's all. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode and it was helpful for you. If it was, give it some love, show it some love. I'm here for you, and I'm gonna go to sleep because I'm tired and delusional right now. I love you.